Hello, my name is Tyrell Williams, and I'm speaking to you in regards of the process of the IEP process. And there are several steps along the way, but I will definitely ensure you how this process will go. And if you have any questions, feel free to ask, and I will do my very best to give you the best answers. Now, I'm guessing that you want to go through the IEP process because you having and your student having problems learning, and we're going to try to get to the bottom of this, okay? And give all the help and resources that we have at our disposal for the student and also well as for you. So we all in this together, okay? Now, the first stage of this process is basically the referral. No, the pre-referral. Basically, this is where before we get into the actual process, this is the process where us teachers have to exhort every avenue before we dive into the IEP process. Now, while we exhorting every avenue, we have the you got it's a two-way street. On one side, which you have the power as well. You have the power as well to report this and ask for these services, both not only towards the school but also towards the district. And we could also do the same as well. Now, once we exhorted every avenue and nothing seems to work out and needs additional help, then we move on to the next step, which is the referral, which it comes into play after we exhorted everything. And once we exhort everything, the referral process is basically, one second. Sorry about that. Like I said, it comes into play when all else fails. And then we start collecting data, from test scores, assignments, projects, all across the board to determine, what's going on, and what can we do from there. And based on this data that we collected from all across the spectrum will help us to determine what kind of disability, regardless if it's mental or physical, whatever the case may be, to give us an idea what are we working with and how we can go from there to develop a baseline for the student so we can go from there as well. And then we move on to the next step. Give me one second. Now, the next step is identification, which in this regard, once we collected all the data, we basically use that data to determine what kind of disability are we working with. And that covers a whole lot. It could be mental, such as autism or ADHD, or a physical disability like, brain trauma, or a physical disability, whatever the case may be. We'll cover all. There's no discrimination on this behalf. We just have to do our job thoroughly to make sure whatever the disability is, we have to accommodate that. And then that comes into eligibility. And like I said before, with eligibility, like I said, we cover all forms of disability. And which one that pops up, whatever disability that's been determined, we'll go from there. So we can accommodate the student, in which that comes into the development of the IEP. This is where everybody comes together, from the parents to you may have advocacy for the student that you may trust, psychologists. Sorry for the punctuation. Psychologists, administrators, teachers, the student as well. We all come together for the success of the student underneath these conditions, and we come together, we form a plan where the goals are attached to the plans so they can reach that milestone. and then we go from there. On the accommodation of the student, like if they need more test time, if they need to be in a quiet area away from everybody to take that test, or they need additional time with homework, whatever the case may be, will be a part of the IEP. And also, the development of the IEP, there will be resources for the student, whatever we find and what we have at our disposal, regardless within school bounds or outside of the school, we will have that for the student and as well as the parent to have access to. So the student could be successful. That is the ultimate goal of this whole IEP process. And while we are developing this IEP process, and once it's fully developed and everybody comes to consensus and an agreement, the implementation of the IEP comes into play. Once the IEP is active, the teachers will have to abide by the IEP process, the plan itself. So that means they will have to be accommodating to the student by any means. That means if a student needs to be somewhere else to take the test, we have to accommodate that. If we got to implement in our lesson plans on towards the student ability to learn, we have to do that. If a student needs a modified desk or needs a laptop or needs a tablet or a set of headphones or a beanbag, we have to abide by what the IEP states. And then that leaves the final part of the IEP process, which is reviews and reevaluations. This is where we will meet every year or every quarterly, depending on the circumstances and parents. And I'm going to say this loud and clear. You have a right to request a review at any given time. You don't have to wait for us. If you feel like that the IEP is not working or you still have questions that need to be answered, you have every right to request a review. But until then, we will meet either every quarterly of the year, like every marking period, or every year to go over the IEP process. And for the evaluations, they are given every 3 years to determine that is the student improving or not, or to determine if the student still needs special education services or they do not. And when we get to that level, it will all be determined together. No one is left out of the loop. If you have any questions, comments, and concerns, please feel free to reach out to me. I am available in the classroom, but also you can reach me by email as well, and I will send you the information as well. And you can also contact the principal or the vice principal if you have any other questions as well. Thank you. Have a blessed day.